So we have some more information to go over regarding Nate Hobbs that came out recently that is very important to touch on after the Packers decide to sign Nate Hobbs in the past couple hours. But here it is from Ryan Wood of PackersNews.com. He shared this not too long ago. He says, Hobbs spent the past 4 seasons as the Raiders' predominant nickel cornerback, starting 38 out of 51 games. The expectation is Hobbs will switch to perimeter cornerback with the Packers, a source told Packers News. At 5'11" and 3/8, 196 pounds, and 31.5-inch arm length, Hobbs has the size to line up outside. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I touched on this idea, or the idea that maybe the Packers could be putting him at outside cornerback, just because in my mind, when you look at the Packers who have Javon Bullard, who had mainly been, a slot corner and safety, to spend a second-round pick on him and then bring in Nate Hobbs to take over his role in the slot, I just didn't know what that would mean for Javon Bullard. And considering he's a very talented, athletic guy who I think struggled a little bit in coverage in his rookie season, I didn't see the Packers just completely replacing him. And so because of that, I was wondering if there was a chance the Packers could potentially try him out outside. And so now it's looking from Ryan Wood that according to his source, that is the expectation for him to switch to perimeter cornerback. And I just feel like for the makeup of the Packers roster, that does make a lot of sense. And it's not like Hobbs didn't play outside at all during his time with the Raiders. He played majority in the slot, 1,662 snaps in the slot, but then 741 outside. So basically close to 30%-ish of his time was outside. And so the Packers seemingly are going to try him out there. And so my guess is that if Jair is gone, which I feel like he'll be gone, we'll keep an eye on that one. But I would assume it'll be Hobbs on the outside, Nixon on the outside, and then Javon Bullard in the slot. And I just think with Javon Bullard, he definitely had some struggles in his rookie season, but he's a very talented player. He's a pretty solid tackler. He plays, I think, pretty solid against the run from the slot. And so I just think if you would have put Nate Hobbs in the slot, like, what's your plan for Javon Bullard, your second-round pick? You don't want him to be a depth guy that's, on the bench waiting until someone else gets injured. You don't spend a second-round pick on that kind of guy and just sort of, forget about him and not try to have him in your starting lineup. And, of course, with Evan Williams at safety next to Xavier McKinney, I think that Williams played much better in his first season than most people probably expected, including myself. And so because of that, maybe before the season last year, you think that maybe Bullard is the guy next to Xavier McKinney. But now because Evan Williams has played so good, I think that, Javon Bullard's best spot is probably in the slot. So it's looking like Hobbs will be the outside corner. Clearly, things could always change when the Packers get together and, start playing in the offseason. Maybe they think Hobbs does play in the slot. But regardless, he's a guy who's versatile, who can do both things. And so I think that's pretty interesting that Ryan Wood shared this information. And one other thing I want to touch on regarding Hobbs, I just saw it pop up on my X. It showed his relative athletic score back from the 2021 draft. Bill Huber retweeted it from Kent Lee Platt. So he is an RAS, Nate Hobbs, of 9.61, so insanely athletic. He has a super crazy vertical. He is, his 40-yard dash, 4.48. But the Packers love these guys that are, have super high relative athletic scores, just sort of showing their explosiveness, their size, all that sort of combined together. So he's someone that's very intriguing to me. He struggled tackling last year, but I think he's a pretty solid player, and their Packers aren't having to pay him a ton of money. He's the 18th highest paid corner in the league. So there's a chance there for him to really exceed his value, especially if he stays healthy, because that's been one of his problems. In the past 3 seasons, he's played 11 games, 13 games, 11 games, and so that could be one reason. Maybe they got him for a little bit cheaper just because he hasn't been consistently healthy, so I guess that's a slight risk. But anyways, that's all I wanted to share. If you want more Packers content and want to stay up to date with all things Packers for free agency period this week, feel free to turn on the post notifications so you do not miss any news. But that's all for today, and I'll see you guys next time.